Dr. Rossbacher, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Good to have you here, and I want to start off by giving you a chance to talk about why you think New Mexico State University would be a good fit for you.
Well, this looks like a wonderful opportunity. The land-grant mission of the university is just a wonderful link between education and business and the economy of the entire state. The fact that there's a presence for the university in every county in the state and on the tribal lands is just a great connection between the entire state and what happens on the campus here.
Okay. What do you see as the major challenges for NMSU going forward?
Well, I think that the strategic plan the university has laid out has pretty well identified what those are, and some of them are unique to New Mexico State. Things like building on the existing research mission, extending the land-grant mission, and sort of figuring out, like all land-grant universities are trying to do, what that means in the 21st century in terms of serving the needs of the local community. So some of them are unique to the institution. I think some of the areas of focus have to do with the diversity of the community and continuing to develop the sense of community here, given the diversity of the culture and the geographical spread of the institution across multiple campuses. Some of the issues are the same ones all of higher education is dealing with right now. Some of the current budget issues, the concern about continuing to grow enrollment, especially in a time with economic cutbacks where enrollment growth is really the one area where the campus and the institution has control over its own source of funding. So I think that there are some of the challenges that are unique to the institution and some that are ones that all of higher education is dealing with as well. And of course, retention, graduation rates, every university in the country is looking at those.
Sure. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about how your experience would help you meet some of those challenges that you've identified and that were identified in the strategic plan.
Well, I think I come at that from a couple of directions. One of them is, having been president of a public university now for more than 11 years, I've had a chance to see a lot of what happens in public higher education and learn about the importance of legislative relations, the fundraising pieces of that, the public service and the research components, as well as the focus on the quality of both undergraduate and graduate education. The university where I am now has a special purpose mission within the 35 campus university system of Georgia. We focus on science, engineering, technology, architecture, and related fields. A number of those are very well connected and directly connected to the sorts of things that New Mexico State does. One of the things that we've done at my current institution very recently that we're extremely happy about is adding traditional engineering programs. We've had some niche engineering programs in the past, like construction engineering and mechatronics engineering, but we have just now added civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering. So we're very excited about that additional growth in the curriculum. So I've seen the spectrum of things that happen on a university campus, but I've also had the opportunity to work at the system level with the whole university system of Georgia. I had a chance to serve as the interim executive vice chancellor and chief academic officer for the university system, and in that I was responsible for the academic programs at all 35 institutions. At the time there were 260,000 students and 10,000 faculty members involved in the system. So I've seen that kind of scope. And when I was doing that, I had the presidents of the 14 comprehensive universities in Georgia all reported to me. And one of those is a land-grant university, historically in the state of Georgia. So I've seen, campus, I've seen system, and of course, I'm a geologist by background. And so I started as a faculty member and had the opportunity to serve as the chief academic officer at 2 different other institutions. So I think it's a pretty good spectrum of perspective on higher education.
Okay. We've talked a little about some of the challenges facing NMSU. As you look at the institution, are there particular areas where you feel the university really excels?
New Mexico State has a wonderful reputation in a great many areas. Certainly the traditional areas of agriculture and engineering are areas that are very strong, but there are also a number of other programs that, as I've been talking with people over the last couple of months about New Mexico State, I've been hearing about some wonderful centers of excellence. I've heard a lot about the golf program, the academic program, as well as the athletic program. And so I know that that's an area of strength. I know that the sciences, some of that in support of the agricultural and engineering missions, but some of it just basic research in other directions. I think the service that the university provides through the agricultural extension arm is also an area that has a really great reputation.
Okay. Public broadcasting plays a unique role here because we're the only television station in southern New Mexico. In addition to providing educational opportunities for students and the community, we also run the only national public radio stations in the area, and the only radio stations with a news and public affairs focus as a major mission. How do you see public broadcasting as part of the university's mission?
I think there's a tremendous educational aspect to that that just fits in perfectly with the university mission. Now, I don't know if you noticed this in my background, but I worked for National Public Radio.
I did.
For a while. It was a great program that's run by the American Association for the Advancement of Science, where they take graduate students in science and engineering and put them in media sites around the country. And the whole point is to learn how to communicate science and engineering, complex technical issues to the general public. And the year I did it, there were people who were sent to public radio stations in Greeley, Colorado, and who worked at commercial television stations and newspapers around the country. And I was incredibly fortunate that I got to work at National Public Radio in Washington, D.C. I'm sure it's because I had experience working at the radio station when I was an undergraduate that provided that opportunity. And it was just an amazing experience to learn how to communicate in a different way. Of course, geologists like to use our hands a lot, and you can't do that on radio.
That's right.
And so I learned the value of expressing things succinctly, the value of using metaphors, the importance of sound, and the way in which that can really enrich the communication process. My very first story that aired on National Public Radio was on All Things Considered, and it was a story about science books for summer reading. And I'd been working on it for a couple of weeks, and I came in one morning, and the science editor said, "There's a hole in All Things Considered, and you need to finish this story in the next 2 hours." And part of that was going out and finding the sound for the beginning. And so I got sent to the sound library. And I walk in and find the librarian and said, "Okay, I've got to have beach sounds." And she said, "Well, East Coast or West Coast?" And of course it makes perfect sense. The sound of the waves will be different. The birds will be different. But it was just a wonderful experience, and even now in the number of speeches that I give and the writing that I do, I go back to the experience I had with National Public Radio and the way the things I learned from that in being succinct and clear and communicating to a lay audience.
Sounds like a passion for you, for
It
sure.
is, it is. And yes, I'm a supporter of my local public radio station.
We thank you. Speaking of support, as you know, state support in New Mexico and really all around the country is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. As you have identified, fiscal matters are really key for university administrators. And I'm curious to find out how you would make sure that donors don't have an undue influence on the university.
I think that that's really a matter of being very clear from the beginning about what the boundaries are for what donors can identify and dictate and what they can't. I've had the experience of having a donor who wanted to create an endowed chair, but who also wanted to name who was going to fill that faculty chair and identify some of the books that would be part of the courses that person taught. And that's not an option. And so we just kept talking about what his goals were as a donor, what he was trying to accomplish, the educational aspects of that, and we sort of redirected it and channeled it into something that was appropriate for a donor to be supporting. And so fundraising is always a matter of finding the intersection between the donor's interests and the university's needs. And they don't always start out in the same place, but you just have to communicate and keep that conversation going until you find that overlap.
Another issue that is not unique to one institution is the fact that nationally, as you know, there are fewer tenure track positions. And as you know, many folks worry that that could have an impact on academic freedom. What are your thoughts about that issue?
I think that tenure should not be the protection of academic freedom, that there needs to be, so I'm answering this in a slightly different direction. I think that academic freedom is critical to the nature of the academy and fundamental to what happens in higher education. And so tenure should not be the only protection for that. And I think that in higher education there are a range of types of faculty and types of instructors that are needed. And the trick is always finding the right mix. And you know, when there are budget constraints, sometimes we shift more toward adjunct faculty. But the trick is finding the right balance and making sure that if that has to happen, then when the resources are available again, you shift back the other way. I know that that at my current institution, we have a number of professional programs which are greatly enriched by the adjunct faculty and the part-time faculty who actually work in the field and bring that practical expertise into the classroom. And so the ideal number of adjunct faculty is not 0, because they bring so much to the classroom. On the other hand, it's not 100% either, because the more the instruction shifts toward adjuncts, the more of the burden of the infrastructure of the departments and the academic programs and the research areas fall to the tenured and tenure track faculty, and you know, we always need to be making sure that we're not unduly burdening them with things like the institutional service, committee work, advising, and the sorts of things that happen outside the classroom that must happen to support student success at the institution.
You've already addressed the fact that the university and the community are very diverse, and I wanted to give you a chance to talk about how you ensure that a campus is a welcoming place for everybody.
That's a good question. I think of diversity as it's not a goal, it's a goal, but it's not something you actually achieve as a state, it's a process. And so it's a matter of always looking for the different perspectives that are included as part of the community, the ways that those perspectives need to be represented, being open to all the perspectives, providing a lot of fora and opportunities for people to provide input and to express their various opinions and ideas. It's something I think is fundamentally important to any educational institution, and something that I've had the opportunity to work with a fair amount in my current position. My very first year at my university in Georgia, I was appointed to chair the Board of Regents task force on the Hispanic task force for the whole system. And I think it's simply because I'd worked previously at 2 different Hispanic serving institutions and therefore had some background working with that. But it was a great opportunity to learn about that element of diversity across the state of Georgia. The fact there was a task force recognized that there was a dramatically growing population, significantly increasing population of Hispanics across Georgia, and you know, what did the system need to do to prepare for those? And as a result of my service there, we've ended up getting about $1.5 million of endowed scholarship funds for Hispanic and Latino students, and we've doubled the percentage on our campus. My university also is ranked #1 in the country for the number of African Americans who receive bachelor's degrees in engineering technology. We're very proud of that too, and I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact we have a campus where people communicate with each other, and that we have plenty of opportunities for people to express their opinions, and we make sure those opinions are listened to.
Okay. As you know, maintaining a diverse staff, diverse faculty also takes dollars, and with cuts in state funding here at NMSU, university employees have seen actually a reduction in take-home pay because of an increased employee contribution to retirement. When budgets are under pressure like that, and they're expected to continue to be under pressure in New Mexico, as president, if you were chosen here, would you take local action where the state falls short to ensure a competitive compensation package for staff and faculty?
I think that's pretty much what's necessary to sort of get through this period of time. I think there are a number of ways to focus on increasing diversity among faculty and staff, and to make sure that the very best people are being recruited. Some of that is, I mean, this is even more than just local, it's very personal. It's a matter of just constantly recruiting good people, always watching for opportunities to involve good people who can contribute to the university, to the campus. And I think it's also a lot about understanding the personal motivations of people. I've had good success recruiting people, not with more dollars than they might be offered somewhere else, but with other opportunities that they're interested in pursuing. Faculty members who are interested in a particular line of research and making sure that the library is getting the funding, that they have the student support that they might need. Sometimes faculty members are interested in some administrative responsibilities and figuring out a way for that to happen. But once again, it's about communication, listening, asking, understanding what it is that motivates people and that will be valuable, attracting them to the institution. And it's not always just more money.
Okay.
Sometimes it is, but there are other ways to approach that too.
Okay. Well, speaking of money, New Mexico State is the area's largest employer, so this also has an enormous impact in the community. And NMSU is continuing to increase partnerships aimed at economic development. Tell me about your experience in working with local governments, with school districts, businesses, etc., in building partnerships that are kind of aimed in that direction.
Let me point to a couple of examples of that. One of them is sort of on the educational side. The county where I am is fortunate to have 2 large public universities, a large technical college, and both a city and a county school system. And the 3 presidents and 2 superintendents meet together on a regular basis to talk about, it's Cobb County and it's the Cobb Education Consortium. And we routinely meet to talk about common issues, share perspectives, look for solutions to the problems we share, and we realize we represent the whole spectrum and the whole pipeline of education in our region. We also have a leadership academy that takes people from each of our schools and colleges and universities and put them together to actually learn more about each other. And the best geologist is the one who's seen the most geology. The best educational leaders are the ones who've seen the broadest view of education. And so the people who come out of this program in the elementary and middle and high schools, they typically become assistant principals and principals. In the colleges and universities, they often become department chairs and deans and directors. So that's been a very effective program. So there's that educationally. Similarly, statewide, my university has developed an articulation agreement with the technical college system. We're one institution, but we have an articulation agreement with the whole technical college system across the state, so that students who start there and earn an associate's degree and realize they would like to earn a bachelor's degree can transfer to our university with minimal loss of credits and minimal loss of time. So there's that kind of collaboration too. But this year I've had the opportunity to serve as the chair of the Cobb County Chamber of Commerce, it has about 2,500 members compared to the Greater Las Cruces Chamber of Commerce, which has about 1,000. So it's more than twice the size. But interestingly enough, the Las Cruces Chamber has about 85% small businesses, that employ 25 employees or less. In Cobb County, it's 90% small businesses, so comparable and then some. Serving as chair of the chamber has been an incredible opportunity to work in the business community and highlight that connection between education and business. I'm fortunate to be in a county that really does appreciate that link, but serving as the chair has given me a real platform to talk about that and keep it front and center in the business community in the county, and that's been a terrific experience.
Okay, well, we're running out of time, but finally I wanted to give you a chance to talk about something that I've had all the candidates talk about, and that is that a hardship, something in your career that you've been through, and it's often said we take away in life sometimes the most from our hardships. So one or more that you've taken away something from.
An experience that I had in my current position as president several years ago was the opportunity, and this ended up being a failed opportunity, and that was the hardship, the challenge about it. We had an opportunity to take over a campus that was literally adjacent to our campus. We shared a fence line. It was a college that was having very difficult financial times, and they actually came to me and said, would you think about sort of buying us, just taking over our debt? And it would have been adding another 100 acres to the campus. I mean, they had some great facilities, not exactly what we needed, but we could have made it work. And the process of trying to work through those negotiations with the foundation that supported the university, with the system office, with the legislature, just trying to put the whole package together, working with the community and the varying perceptions of whether this was a hostile takeover. The business community was concerned about this college going out of business and what that meant to the economy of the area. I mean, it was an incredibly complicated set of discussions with a lot of positive and negatives on both sides. And ultimately, the deal fell through. For a variety of reasons, some of which were political. But so partly it was the negotiations getting to that and then having it fall apart and trying to maintain positive relationships with the college, which is actually on much better financial footing now, and so they're doing okay. But maintaining relationships with them, keeping the foundation of the university from getting crosswise with other entities who were part of this, groups blaming other groups for the reasons why it didn't all come together, was a very challenging experience, and one that I learned a lot about working with multiple groups and the importance of communication with everybody.
Dancing on thin ice, it sounds like.
Yes, yes, and sometimes you fall through.
Dr. Rossbacher, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Nice having you here.
Thank you.